My last one is a very complex but a current day story called The Gifted School, and it's taken sort of right out of the headlines. Although the author Holsinger, he's a professor. He's a medieval literature and culture professor at UVA. And this is taking place in the fictitious community of Crystal, Colorado, which he has based loosely on Boulder, Colorado, where he lived for a while, and they had their his partner and they had their first kids. And I would say it's you've got four family friends that met together, four women family friends who met together originally at a baby swim class about a decade ago. You have Rose, who's a pediatric neurologist, and her daughter, Emma Q. You have Samantha, and she's sort of the queen bee of the group, and she also has an Emma. She goes by Emma Z. And then you have Azra, who's she's the owner of a high boutique, and her ex, Beck, is sort of a trust fund wannabe that basically moves through life as a boy who's hasn't quite always grown up, and they have twin boys, Aiden and Charlie, who are at this point pretty competitive around their soccer skills, but also becoming more competitive around school. And then you have Lauren, who's a single mom, who's been widowed. And she has a neurodiverse child, and he's Xander, and then a teen daughter, and Tessa has just gotten out of rehab. And the whole crux of the story with these characters is that there is a magnet school that is about to open, and they're all gonna vie to get their kids in under any circumstances that they can, a la Operation Varsity Blues that happened this past spring with actress Felicity Huffman and Lori Lohan. So throughout the whole story, it's told in multiple perspectives. It's jumping back and forth, and amazingly enough, I typically don't like stories where the characters are unlikable. But in this case, some of these characters were not very likable in the actions they were doing. But underneath it all, I sort of got the sense of that they're misguided and they're not necessarily doing what's best for their kids, but underneath it all, they were actually doing it out of a sense of love. And so as I was reading it, I was really wanting to know, well, what's going to happen? And I wasn't necessarily rooting for the parents or the kids. I actually felt bad for the kids at times, but I was really intrigued as to, well, who is going to get in and who isn't going to get in. There's also a side character, and she was the sanest of the group, and it's Shayna, and she's the Peruvian grandmother of her grandson Atik, and he's also applying to get into the school, and she's the character that actually lent some balance to some of the other characters. So I would say that if you like multiple perspective stories that are authentic, yes, characters that maybe aren't likable, but you're trying to sort of figure out where they're coming from and why they're doing things that might not actually be in the best interests for themselves or their kids. Something that's thought-provoking and compelling, something that's obviously in the news. I think you're going to really like The Gifted Story. The New York Times Book Review said, "The Gifted School is the juiciest book I've read in ages, manages to be both a suspenseful, laugh-out-loud page-turner and an incisive inspection of privilege, race, and class." And the Wall Street Journal is quoted as saying, "The summer read that predicted the college admissions scandal." And one of the reviews I read was comparing it to Big Little Lies, of course, by Leanne Moriarty. But very, very compelling. And again, one of those stories that you just, once you start reading it, you're not necessarily going to be able to put it down.
Wow, that sounds really good.